All right. Welcome to Southwest Flavor. Happy Thursday to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have a very special guest, Pima County Supervisor Rick Scott. Welcome.
Ron, thank you very much. Happy to be here with you and your viewers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming in. You have a busy schedule. It took us a while to get this schedule.
I know. Sorry that was such a hassle.
Yeah, definitely. But we have a lot of history with you. My wife has been on the Small Business Commission, and she was your appointee, and she chaired that for a couple of years. So we always have a lot of contact with you, and a lot of back and forth ideas and trying to resolve different things in Pima County.
You are married to an idea person, Ron, as you know, and yes, when we appointed Janae to represent District 1 on the Small Business Commission, she came to us highly recommended by the Chambers of Commerce in both Marana and Oro Valley, and we're delighted that she is continuing in that role. And I think the years that she served as chair really helped the commission in terms of refining their focus and the issues that they needed to spend the most time on.
Right. I think she was a little bit nervous when she first started just because she didn't know what she was getting into. But
as the current chair of the Board of Supervisors, I can relate.
Right, yeah. And I'm the chair at the Oro Valley Chamber of Commerce too. So when I first got into that, I'm like,
absolutely.
What am I going to get into? Yeah. But yeah, she jumped in with both feet and really, really enjoys it.
Well, she's done a fantastic job. We're proud that she's one of our 2 representatives.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in southeastern Ohio, in a little city called Athens. It's where Ohio University is. My father was a journalism professor at OU, and I have 2 bachelor's degrees from Ohio U, one in political science and the other one in education.
Okay.
In 1991, I moved here. And it's interesting. I was the first Ohio University student elected to serve on Athens City Council, and I resigned my city council seat near the end of my second term to move to Pima County. I followed a girl out here that I had been dating when I was living in Athens, and although we didn't last, she is the reason that I moved to Southern Arizona.
Right.
And I was fortunate to meet the woman I've been married to for over 30 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary last year, and we are the parents of adult twins, 1 boy, 1 girl.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah. That's probably why we stopped at that point. And then both my wife and I are career educators. She has been an elementary and preschool teacher. She's now a substitute teacher in the Flowing Wells District. I was a teacher in both TUSD and Flowing Wells, and then I was an administrator in Amphi, Marana, and Flowing Wells. I'm sorry, TUSD for 19 years. And then the year after I retired, I ran for the Board of Supervisors in District 1, was fortunate to be elected in 2020 and then reelected in 2024.
Wow, that's awesome. And that came with its own challenges, 2020.
Sure.
I mean, you get freshly elected, and then the world stops.
Well, and it actually stopped during the campaign because we had collected all of our petition signatures and had started some door-to-door campaigning by mid-March. And of course, mid-March 2020 was when everything shut down.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the campaign was a virtual endeavor. We couldn't do any door-to-door. We were contacting voters by mail, by digital media. We were using any means we could to make contact with them, but we couldn't make the personal contact that is so fundamental to local campaigning.
Of course, yeah.
And we were fortunate to win that race. And then fortunate to be reelected by a more comfortable margin in 2024. When I was, there's some numbers in life you'll never forget, like the weights of your kids and the times that they were born.
Right.
And I'll never forget that I was elected in 2020 by a very scant margin of 730 votes, and then was fortunate in 2024 to have a little bit more comfortable margin of 8,091 votes.
Okay. That still seems pretty close.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, District 1 is the most purple of the 5 districts.
Okay.
Pretty evenly divided between Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the district that has the highest number of registered voters.
Oh, okay.
The districts have to be close in terms of population. That's why we redraw the lines after every census.
Right.
But in terms of number of registered voters, District 1 has the most. And voters in District 1 turn out to vote, regardless of their party affiliation. They go to the polls. And so it was for many years a reliably Republican district. The Republicans held the district from 1976 to 2020 until I was elected. But I try very hard to reach out to everybody in our district to assess their views and their concerns before I take a position. And I try very hard to vote the interests of the district, regardless of whether or not that's aligned with the interest of the other members of my party on the board. And with all humility, I think that's why I got reelected.
I agree. And that's one of the things that I've always appreciated about you is you're so open. Anytime that I talk with you, you're an open book. I mean, we can talk about anything and, you express what you believe in.
Well, I appreciate that, Ron, and I'll try to always be that way. And I had some good training for being that way, being a school administrator, because teachers and other staff members who work in schools are highly opinionated, strong-willed individuals who are used to a great degree of autonomy. I mean, teachers are
that's a tough job.
Oh, it is a very challenging job.
And now even more than ever, as a teacher, you are in the middle. You're in the middle of the administration and the parents.
Yeah.
And and you as a teacher, you have that firsthand look at what your students are doing. And a lot of times it's probably not aligning with what the parents think the kids are doing and what the school needs the kids to be doing. So.
It's a classic middle management position.
Right. Yeah,
it
exactly.
Definitely is.
You're getting it from both sides.
And I really like being a county supervisor, but I loved being an educator.
Mm-hmm.
It was an extraordinary blessing to do that work for as long as I did.
Right. And how did that prepare you for being a county supervisor?
Well, I think half of my career as a Pima County educator was spent working in schools in District 1.
Okay.
And I think when you work on behalf of the children in a community and you're constantly worried about their growth and their development and you're engaging with their parents about what they want for their kids, that's a terrific way to learn the needs of your community.
Oh, that's true.
So it gave me a very unique perspective. And, if you look at the number of people who are in elected office, they're most likely to be lawyers. Yeah. And then you have a lot, which makes sense because it's a lawmaking role.
Right.
And then you have a lot of people from business. You don't have that many educators. And I think educators, because of how we learn the needs of our communities through the eyes of its children, have an important perspective.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure it's rewarding just to watch the child grow up.
It is.
Yeah. And I mean, I got in some trouble when I was in school.
So did I.
Yeah. And one of the assistant principals kind of took me to the side and, gave me a couple talks, but he was always there. He came to our sporting events. He was really supportive. And I'm always going to remember that. That was 40 years ago. So
I got into a significant amount of disciplinary trouble when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And even though I was doing everything that I could to screw up my life,
right?
There were so many people at my school, teachers, counselors, administrators, support staff, who didn't give up on me.
Right.
And as a result, when I was a teacher and administrator, I never gave up on a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And you said that your last position was at Tortolita?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I was proud to be the principal there for 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. And I was telling you off air that I've been in that basketball gym many, many times. My youngest son played basketball not only for Cross Middle School, so we played over there, but also a YMCA basketball team that we played over there sometimes.
Well, Tortolita was the only school in my career where I worked that my own children went to.
Okay.
Our twins went to Ironwood Elementary, then they went to Tortolita, and they're both graduates of Mountain View High School.
Okay. All right.
They are very glad that their dad was the principal after they had left.
I bet that'd be a weird situation.
Yeah.
Definitely. For both, sometimes you and the children.
Yeah, I've known other administrators whose kids were on campuses that they served, and it's a delicate balance you have to
very
strike.
Delicate. Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about Pima County and your district.
Well, my district is one of 5, and by one of 5, I mean it's District 1, and it is pretty much bounded by River Road to the south.
Okay. We
do have some precincts south of River along Craycroft and First Avenues, but mostly it's everything north of River. The rough western boundary is Dove Mountain Boulevard. Rough eastern boundary is Catalina Highway, all the way up to the Pinal County line.
Okay.
And so it's a big chunk of northwest Tucson, 2 precincts in Marana, 4 precincts in the city of Tucson, all of Oro Valley, all of the village of Catalina, and the Catalina foothills. And that's a lot of ground, but but geographically, it is only the 3rd largest district. The biggest district is District 3, which is represented by Supervisor Allen. It starts on the west side of Tucson and goes all the way down to the international border with Mexico.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it is huge. If you look at a map of the districts, District 3 is enormous compared to the other 4. And then District 4, which is represented by Supervisor Christie, is the 2nd biggest district geographically because it includes a lot of the east side of Tucson, Green Valley, Vail, and it goes all the way up to Mount Lemmon.
Okay. And when they put districts together, they consider the population, right?
Yes.
They're trying to get equal population.
Yeah, you're required as a matter of federal law to have supervisorial districts, congressional districts, legislative districts that are equal in population. That's going along with a Supreme Court decision from the 60s. I think it was Baker versus Carr. That established the principle of one person, one vote.
Oh, okay.
So we, after every census, redraw the lines of our legislative and congressional districts. That's done by the Independent Redistricting Commission in Arizona. But the supervisor districts are redrawn by a commission that's appointed by the supervisors. Each one of us appoints one person to that redistricting commission. They work with county staff to look where there have been population shifts. And then they vote on new district lines, and then they send it to the supervisors to vote. And I was really pleased that when we did that in 2021, the commission voted 5-0 to send the maps to us, and then the Board of Supervisors voted 5-0 to approve the maps. And getting a 5-0 vote on the board is not always easy.
Right.
And for something that essential, our boundaries, I was really pleased that we were able to come to unanimous agreement.
Yeah. They always say numbers don't lie, and so if all the numbers lined up, then it should have been a pretty easy vote, I would think.
It was. It was. We each got to appoint our own person to the commission, and I was really fortunate that Steve Lynn, who had headed up the state redistricting commission in its first round back in the early 2000s, lives in my district, and he was willing to be the District 1 representative to the redistricting commission, and he was elected by the other 4 to serve as the chair, and I think he did a terrific job of working with his colleagues from the other 4 districts to facilitate the outcome that happened both with them and then with the Board of Supervisors.
Right. Well, with that, let's take a quick break and visit our sponsors, and we'll be right back in a couple minutes with Southwest Flavor.
Shipping packages is a facet of modern commerce. At Tucson Pack and Ship, we work with major delivery companies to make sure your goods get where they need to go. In addition to shipping, we also offer private mailboxes, notary services, and document shredding. We'll also safely pack your valuable items. Tucson Pack and Ship, Tucson's one-stop packing and shipping source.
Spring is here and the hot summer temperatures are not far away. Your air conditioning system is one of the biggest expenses in your house. Maintaining your air conditioner is critical to keeping you cool all summer long. Protect your investment by calling Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com for fast, friendly, and professional service you deserve.
Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
TRAC stands for Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids. It's a favorite service organization for the Wakies to support. TRAC, located at Dodge and River, is a one-of-a-kind ranch that offers children of various needs an opportunity to serve through interaction with animals. It's a win-win for children and all of our beloved animals. TRAC is eligible for your Arizona tax credit donations now through April 15th. To find out how to get a dollar-for-dollar credit off your Arizona tax bill and help kids and animals, head over to tractucson.org and go to the Support TRAC page to find out more. Make sure you tell TRAC my boy Smooch the Mini Donkey sent you.
If you ever have water damage or mold, your only call should be to Steamy Concepts.
Yeah, but what if the insurance company says to hire someone else?
Nope, Steamy Concepts works for you and not them.
The internet has tons of options.
No way, you don't gamble with water damage.
But the handyman knows a different guy.
Absolutely not. No way, you just call Steamy Concepts today.
But some companies are cheaper.
And you get what you pay for. You don't want to mess with water damage wannabes.
We're calling Steamy Concepts today.
All right, welcome back to Southwest Flavor. So you can watch and listen to us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. So we have different guests every week, usually 2 guests every podcast. But today we have 1 guest, and we're going to run the whole hour with them. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Really appreciate the invitation, Ron.
Yeah. So you said you have a double bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And the other one is in political science.
Correct.
So was that something that was in your plans early on?
Well, yes and no. The reason I got my first bachelor's in political science was because I was at that time planning to be an attorney.
Okay.
When you're getting an undergraduate degree and you're pre-law, there are some pretty common majors: political science, economics, business, sociology. A lot of the other social sciences are often undergraduate degrees for people who are going pre-law.
Okay.
And I took the LSAT, the law school admission test, and I was admitted to one law school. I was on the waiting list for another. I had first run for city council in Athens when I was pursuing that first bachelor's, and I lost.
Okay.
But coming up on the election 4 years after that loss, I saw an opportunity to win. And so I changed my mind completely. I'm sure it still caused my father to shake his head years after that. So I changed my plan. I decided not to go to law school, but to stay in Athens and run for city council a second time. And I needed to do something while I was there. And
Right.
I'd always had an interest in history and government. So I decided to get an education degree with a focus on social studies education.
Oh, okay.
And it was while I was pursuing that second bachelor's that I was elected to city council. And when I was that age, I was elected when I was 24.
Oh, wow.
When I was that age, I was very, very intent on climbing the political ladder.
Sure.
I had a game plan in mind, which would have gone from city office to county office to state office to federal office, and the ultimate goal back then was to end up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right.
And obviously, life changes, and as things change, your priorities and your emphases change. And like I said, I followed a girl to Southern Arizona.
Yeah.
And that was a significant change because I had to resign that city council seat to come out here and be with her.
Did you know anyone besides the girl?
No.
Wow.
No. My entire family is east of the Mississippi.
Okay.
And the only people I knew when I moved here were the people that I was working with at the at Flowing Wells Junior High School, which is where I had my first teaching job.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't know anybody when I came here.
Wow.
So, but then, like I said, I was lucky to meet my wife. 10 months after I moved here. We've been married for over 30 years, and I had a terrific career as an educator. And my focus from 1994 until 2020 was on being a husband and a father and an educator.
Sure.
But in 2020, I had the chance to get back into elected politics, and I've probably had to scale back my ambitions from when I was in my 20s, but that's okay. It's still an opportunity to serve and still an opportunity to get involved in elected politics, which I've always loved.
Right. Isn't it wild when we're that young?
I know.
Between 20 and 25, you want to conquer the world.
Amen.
Yeah. My son is 26 and he's pretty much running our company.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And yeah, he has that mentality. He's just wants to conquer the world, and not in a bad way. I'm just saying he wants to go after it. He has that ambition, and we're gonna get this business. We're gonna grow. We're gonna do it right. All that stuff. But
that must be a joy for you and Janae to watch him at the helm of a company that two of you built and built it with their interests in mind. Because you have two other sons besides him.
Right. We have three sons.
Yeah. So that's. That's got to be a unique joy for you and Janae.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Two of our sons work with us.
That's wonderful.
And the oldest one works at Lucid, which is the electric car factory.
Yeah.
So they're all doing really well.
Does he drive up to Casa Grande every day?
He does.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, luckily, he can do it because he's young. He has 12-hour shifts. So, so 1 week he works 4 shifts, and then the next week he works 3 shifts.
All right. Wow.
So it's kind of cool. He has 4 days off 1 week and 3 days off the next week.
And it probably never wants to calculate how much time he spends on Interstate 10.
Right. He lives on the northwest side, pretty close to I-10. So
all right.
It's not too bad. He doesn't have to drive through town.
Oh, yeah.
If he lived on the east side or something, that would be a completely different story.
We always lived on the northwest side when we were raising the twins. As I said, they're graduates of Mountain View High School.
Right.
But 3 years ago, we moved over close to Sabino Canyon.
And there's no good way to get over there.
There is not. And anytime we need to hop on I-10, we've got to go Sunrise, Skyline, Ina.
Yeah.
And because there's no other way unless you're going to El Paso or Points East, but then you've got to drive all the way down Kolb.
Yeah.
No easy way to get to I-10 when you live where we do.
Yeah. Is there any relief coming in terms of roads and trying to get through those surface streets from the east to west?
Well, I'll tell you, the year before I ran for the board, the previous board paid for an assessment of all of the county's roads. And the county's responsible for 2,200 miles of roadway in the unincorporated county.
Right.
And 70% of those roads were found to be in failed condition in 2019.
Yeah.
They passed a program, and they passed it unanimously, by the way, that uses a combination of state and local funds with the goal of getting all those roads up to snuff by the end of the 2020s.
Yeah.
In their last year as a board and our first 2 years as a board, we infused some additional funds into the program by the purchase of short-term debt. We were able to do that because of the favorable interest rates during those 3 years and also the capacity of the road building industry to take on that additional work. So all of our roads are going to be where the previous board wanted them to be by 2029.
Oh, wonderful.
And we've already made some significant progress.
And you have.
And there's 2 sets of roads. There's what are known as neighborhood roads, which are roads you would find within your subdivision. And then there are what are known as arterial and collector roads, roads like River, for example.
Yeah.
And where we still need to do the most work is with those arterials and collectors. We've made some good progress with the neighborhood roads, the local roads, but it's the arterials and collectors where we still need to do some significant repairs. Also, because the previous board in their last year, us in our first 2 years, front-loaded repair. You're now seeing more funds devoted to maintenance. Because
good.
It makes no sense to get a road up to good condition and then
just let it go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that maintenance is a high priority.
Yeah. Our neighborhood, it's an older neighborhood. It was built in the 70s, and our roads prior to probably 2 years ago probably hadn't been touched in 20 years. Yeah, and that we did get brand new roads. So.
And the neighborhood that we lived in before we moved over to Sabino Canyon, the same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I used to joke to people that I felt like I got a chiropractic treatment every time I was driving down our street because it was just in such horrible condition. That road has been fixed. And of course, it was the year after we moved. And then the roads in our current neighborhood in close to Sabino Canyon were repaired, I think, like 2 years before we moved into that neighborhood. So yeah, it is. We've been playing from behind based on the way things looked in 2019, but the previous board and our board have been committed to getting the road repair and maintenance program the resources that it needs every year.
Good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It makes a big difference. It really does. Even for people coming to visit, whether it's family or whether it's tourists, I mean, they're going to notice the roads.
Yeah, it's the topic for which we get the greatest number of phone calls in our office.
Yeah, I bet.
And the reason for that, and we were talking about District 1 and where it is, most of District 1 is unincorporated. Other than Oro Valley and the 2 precincts in Marana and the 4 precincts in Tucson, most of District 1 is unincorporated.
Okay,
so
I didn't realize that.
It is.
Yeah.
So most of the roads in District 1 are the responsibility of the county.
Okay.
So that's why we get a lot of calls in our office about the roads in our district. And if you look at the road repair and maintenance list every year, because the Department of Transportation breaks that list down by district. Most of the roads in any given year that are being addressed are in District 1.
Okay. All right. Let's jump over to RTA since we're talking about roads and everything. How does that relationship between Pima County and the RTA, how is that?
So the RTA is a special taxing district. It was authorized by the Arizona legislature back in 2006, and it is funded by a half-cent sales tax that is paid for by everybody in Pima County. And the RTA board is made up of 9 representatives, the mayors of the 5 cities and towns, a representative from the county, the chairs of the Pasquayaqui tribe and Tohono O'odham Nation, and the governor's Southern Arizona representative to the State Transportation Board.
Okay.
The 9 people on the RTA board are responsible for completing all of the projects in the first RTA plan, which covers the 20-year period from 2006 to 2026, and putting together a new plan to cover the next 20-year period. There have been, I was proud to be the county's representative for our first term as a board.
Okay.
And there were a lot of times during those 4 years that the 9 members of the RTA board, we were not sure how we were going to reach a point of consensus and compromise, but we managed to do it. And that's what the new RTA board is going to need to do. And it's got a lot of new members. Not only is there another supervisor representing the county, but you have a new mayor of Marana. You have a new mayor of South Tucson. You have a new chair of the Pasquayaqui tribe. And during our last term, the chair of the Tohono O'odham Nation changed. So there's been a lot of turnover.
Wow. Yeah.
There's been a lot of turnover. The 2 most senior members of the RTA board are the mayors of Oro Valley and Sahuarita.
Okay.
But what they're going to have to do is the same thing that we did. which is be an advocate for the people who you represent.
Right.
And when you're the Pima County representative, you're the spokesperson for the 34% of people in Pima County who live in the unincorporated portions of the county.
Okay.
Because nobody else is there to speak for them.
Yeah.
And then the mayors speak for their cities and towns. The Pasquayaki and Tohono O'odham representatives speak for their citizens.
Mm-hmm.
The governor's Southern Arizona rep on the State Transportation Board gives us that global perspective and enjoys the fact that he's the only non-elected official in the group. So he's got a little bit more latitude in terms of what he can say and do. But then while you're advocating for your constituents, you also need to be top of mind, thoughtful about the needs of the region. Because we are so interwoven. I don't think when people are driving from Oro Valley to Tucson that they're thinking, now I'm in Oro Valley, then I'm in the unincorporated county, now I'm in Tucson.
Not at all.
No, we're interconnected.
Yeah.
And not only in terms of infrastructure, but also in terms of economic development. And if we demonstrate to companies and businesses that want to come here or expand here that we can't come together on a fundamental issue like infrastructure, they're going to look at other places around the country that are more collaborative and cohesive.
Yeah, I agree. I've been really advocating for the RTA because it's coming up. We're going to have to vote on it.
Yes.
And it sounds like there's a lot of doubt from the citizens just whether they want to pass it or not. But it is such a huge part of our infrastructure and getting all these projects done.
And as General Maxwell, Ted Maxwell, the president and CEO of the Southern Arizona Leadership Council, is the governor's Southern Arizona representative of the State Transportation Board. So he's our ninth member, and he is continually reminding us there is not going to be any state or federal money coming into this region for anything other than maintenance.
Right.
And so if we give up the millions of dollars every year that the RTA half-cent tax generates, that's going to have a significant impact on our ability to expand and maintain our infrastructure. And for people who are fans of Suntran, the city's transit system, there is a significant part of the Suntran budget every year that comes from the.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that comes from the RTA tax, and if that goes away, the city's going to have to make that up through their own budget.
Well, I know selfishly, living on the northwest side, everyone wants the Cortero overpass to be redone. Yeah, I mean, it needs to be done. It needs to be done for a lot of years, and it's on the next RTA plan. It just has to be passed.
Well, and
that's not the only thing either. But
all of us were saddened by the loss of Mayor Honey,
of course,
at the latter part of last year, and he was the longest-serving member of the RTA board.
Right,
and that is listed as a Marana project. But as Ed pointed out many times and very accurately, that interchange at Cortero benefits the entire region.
Oh, yeah.
Because think about how many people make use of it regardless of where they live. Think about the pressure that it takes off of Ina Road and other roadways heading in that same direction.
Right.
And that's why we have to think regionally. Yes, it's listed as a Marana project, but it's ridiculous to say that only Marana residents benefit from it.
Right. And we can see just all the new overpasses, throughout I-10 that have been redone in the last 20 years.
Yes.
And just made traffic, so much more serviceable for everyone.
It's our interconnectedness.
Yeah.
It's our interconnectedness in all aspects of our lives that should not only make us be proud and happy to live here, but also give a special impetus for getting an RTA next plan in front of the voters and getting it approved.
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's some plans for some of the interchanges, I think down south, right? Like Palo Verde maybe, or
yes. Now, and those are state projects.
Okay.
I think other than the Sonoran Corridor, project. A lot of those are state projects and not necessarily part of RTA
Oh,
Next.
really? I didn't know that. Okay. Even though is Palo Verde and I-10, is that in Tucson or?
It is.
It is? Okay.
It is. But I don't think that particular project is part of RTA. I think it's part of the state's overall plan. But, there are so many projects in RTA Next that if I'm mistaken about that, I'm sure somebody will correct me. But it's
I don't remember if it is or not. I took the survey. I've been involved with different things with RTA over the last few years. Just being involved with the chambers and everything else that we do. I'm trying to stay up to date with it.
It's and we're folks like yourself who are involved in the business community and the private sector are the folks that we hear from the most.
Sure.
With regard to concerns about RTA Next.
Yeah. Well, we're on the road. I mean, a huge part of our job is to be on the road because we're going from location to location.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I used to be part of the what's it called? The emergency community. I was a firefighter and a EMT. And so I know, just firsthand how important it is to get to that location. If someone's having a heart attack or their house is on fire, you need to get over to that location as fast and as safely as possible.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, the whole network in terms of what it means to first responders, business people, and then just average folks. We all need to have a high degree of concern if we're not able to come together on this issue.
Right. All right. With that, let's take a quick sponsor break, and we will be back in just a couple minutes with Southwest Flavor.
If you ever have water damage or mold, your only call should be to Steamy Concepts.
Yeah, but what if the insurance company says to hire someone else?
Nope, Steamy Concepts works for you and not them.
The internet has tons of options.
No way, you don't gamble with water damage.
But the handyman knows a different guy.
Absolutely not. No way, you just call Steamy Concepts today.
But some companies are cheaper.
And you get what you pay for. You don't want to mess with water damage wannabes.
We're calling Steamy Concepts today.
TRAC stands for Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids. It's a favorite service organization for the Wakies to support. TRAC, located at Dodge and River, is a one-of-a-kind ranch that offers children of various needs an opportunity to serve through interaction with animals. It's a win-win for children and all of our beloved animals. TRAC is eligible for your Arizona tax credit donations now through April 15th. To find out how to get a dollar-for-dollar credit off your Arizona tax bill and help kids and animals, head over to TRACTucson.org and go to the Support TRAC page to find out more. Make sure you tell TRAC my boy Smooch the Mini Donkey sent.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
Spring is here and the hot summer temperatures are not far away. Your air conditioning system is one of the biggest expenses in your house. Maintaining your air conditioner is critical to keeping you cool all summer long. Protect your investment by calling Picturox Cooling, Heating and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com for fast, friendly, and professional service you deserve.
Picturox Cooling, Heating and Plumbing.
Shipping packages is a facet of modern commerce. At Tucson Pack and Ship, we work with major delivery companies to make sure your goods get where they need to go. In addition to shipping, we also offer private mailboxes, notary services, and document shredding. We'll also safely pack your valuable items. Tucson Pack and Ship, Tucson's one-stop packing and shipping source.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season for a limited time until the last day of winter. Welcome back to Southwest Flavor, talking with Rick Scott. How you doing?
Doing great, Ron.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about it's a really hot topic right now in Tucson and Pima County, and it's the homeless.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I know this is a really broad question, but what's being done about the homeless situation?
So there are so many challenges that we have dealing with homelessness. One of the most significant challenges is that although the most visible members of the unhoused community are people who are dealing with substance abuse and mental illness.
Right. And they're the ones that we see on the streets all the time.
Exactly. That's why I refer to them as the most visible members of that group.
Yeah.
The biggest reason for homelessness in Pima County and around the country is the lack of affordable housing and the cost of rental housing.
Right. And that's just skyrocketed in the last 5 years.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I have a son who lives in Portland, Oregon, and a daughter who lives here.
Okay.
And what they pay for rent on their apartments compared to what my wife and I paid when we were just starting out and we were renters, it's more than twice.
Oh yeah.
What we paid.
Yeah, it's probably triple.
Back then.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We need in the region, I think, just in the affordable range, over 20,000 additional units.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so the county has a regional affordable housing commission that is made up of not only appointees from all of the supervisors, but also representatives from all of the cities and towns.
Okay.
Because just like with transportation, we need to take on the issue of housing with a regional focus. And they are going to be, over the course of the next 7 or 8 months, working on a long-term strategy for increasing housing stock at both the affordable and market rate level.
Oh, okay.
And the community should be hearing more from the commission and from the Board of Supervisors on that throughout 2025. We've made use of some local funds to fund what's known as gap financing for developers of affordable housing. That represents the gap between what they have to complete a project and what they need to complete it. And the board has been supportive of putting money into our budget for that gap financing, and it's paid for right around 1,200 additional units of housing over the time that we've had that in the budget.
Wow.
With regard to homeless encampments, most of the homeless encampments in our region are in the city of Tucson and are addressed by the city of Tucson.
Yeah.
When they are in the unincorporated county, they are most likely in our washes and rivers.
Right.
And so the department within the county that first addresses an encampment report is often the regional flood control district.
Oh, okay.
Because it's the flood control staff that's responsible for our washes and rivers,
keeping the washes clean, or
exactly, and making sure that they are ready to handle the inundation of water that we get during our winter and summer rains.
Yeah.
So. But when they get a report of an encampment, it triggers what's known as our homeless protocol. And that brings into the process of clearing an encampment, not just flood control district staff, but also staff from the sheriff's department, staff from the community and workforce development department, sometimes staff from the health department.
Okay.
And they're concerned not only with clearing the encampment, but also with getting the residents the services and supports that they need to address the root causes of homelessness.
Right.
That brings to mind a significant issue that we're dealing with, not just in Pima County, but throughout the country, which is, what do you do with people who refuse services or refuse shelter?
Yeah.
And oftentimes they refuse shelter because some of the shelters have rules with regard to bringing your partner with you, or bringing your pet, or you have to be sober, or other conditions that some folks are not willing to adhere to. We have a tremendous number of services through a number of different county departments that can help people to deal with the root causes of their homelessness, whether it's related to employment or other financial issues, or whether it's related to mental health and substance abuse. What do you do with people who refuse services?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the unanswerable question.
It
almost.
is.
Yeah.
And then there needs to be more collaboration within the law enforcement community in terms of dealing with the number of people either in the homeless community or people who are taking advantage of the homeless community to engage in illegal behavior. Selling drugs or other illegal acts, theft, vandalism, and so many of our small businesses are dealing with that.
Right.
The counties and cities around the country that have done the best job of addressing homelessness and its effects and its causes work collaboratively and cohesively, and I don't think there's enough of that in Pima County, both in the services side and on the enforcement side.
Okay.
And that is something that we are going to be working on with both the city and the tribes and the towns, because until we have more of a regional collaborative focus in terms of addressing both services and enforcement, along with the housing piece that I talked about earlier, we're not going to make progress.
Okay. I don't know if it's true. My one of my sons has said this for a long time, and I didn't research it, but he said that during the Reagan administration, they cut a lot of the mental health services, and that's when a lot of the people came on the street.
So that
kind of started it.
And he's correct in that it was in the early years of that administration that a movement known as deinstitutionalization began, because leading up into the early 80s, if you were dealing with mental illness or mental health, you were usually confined into some institution, often an institution run by a state or in some cases local governments. And there was every positive intent in moving towards deinstitutionalization.
Sure.
But then you need to have community-based mental health services to assist those folks. They're not going away. They're just now out on the streets. And so he's absolutely correct that you can take people out of institutions, you can defund those institutions, but if you're not then supporting community-based mental health and substance abuse services, then there's a huge void that's opened up. And we've been dealing with that ever since then. And after the onset of first meth and then fentanyl, and given their low cost, relatively low cost, and their availability and how extraordinarily addictive they are.
Right.
I mean, you can become addicted to either meth or fentanyl the first time you use it.
Yeah.
You can also die the first time you use it.
Exactly.
And
or just getting exposed to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, as an emergency personnel or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. And
it is.
And we are trying to make use of not only local, state, and federal funds that we get to deal with to deal with substance abuse issues in our community, but because of the opioid settlement with the pharmaceutical companies that were found to be responsible for flooding our communities with opioids like oxycodone.
Yeah.
Both the county and the city and the towns get a portion of that opioid settlement.
Oh wow. Okay.
The county gets a portion, so do the cities and towns. And under the terms of the opioid settlement, if you're a city or town, you can take your money and handle it the way you want to, or you can work with others in the region. In Pima County, both Oro Valley and Sahuarita took their money and decided to handle things in their own way within their jurisdictional boundaries. The county is working with Tucson, South Tucson, and Marana on a joint uses of our opioid settlement funds.
That's good. That's
Yes.
good. I mean, like you said, the majority of the homeless are in Tucson.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are.
So
They are, and the county and the city need to be the leaders in terms of addressing the services side and making greater use of the services that are really having an effect on not only getting people off the streets and into emergency or temporary housing, but then making sure that they stay housed after that. But then we also, the county and city, need to be the leaders in terms of collaborating in the enforcement side and dealing with criminal behavior within the homeless community or people who are injecting themselves into the homeless community to engage in criminal behavior.
Yeah, I think that's such a tough position to be in law enforcement. And I mean, I think it takes up, in my opinion, it takes up most of their time dealing with those issues with the people that are out on the street.
Sure.
And the people that are on the fentanyl and stuff.
We had, when I was a school administrator, there was something that we referred to as the 90-10 rule, that you spend 90% of your time sometimes dealing with 10% of the kids.
Exactly.
And I think in terms of our police officers and our sheriff's deputies, they're often spending 90% of their time dealing with probably less than 10% of the population.
Yeah.
And so...
And that's really draining our resources.
It is. And there needs to be a greater level of collaboration and partnership between our first responders in the police and sheriff's departments, our prosecutors at both the county and city level, and then the courts, not just Superior Court and Justice Court at the county level, but also the magistrate courts at the city level.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. I forgot what I was going to say right now on top of that. But
well, that's such a daunting topic. It can overwhelm your mind. And I know it is something that is top of mind for everybody on the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
And you know, I mentioned that our office gets a lot of calls about roads because most of the roads in District 1 are in the unincorporated county. We do get a lot of calls about homeless encampments, and that then causes us to be in touch with the county departments who oversee our encampment protocol.
Yeah. I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that when our police are dealing with these issues, they aren't able to be out there and be proactive, and looking for other issues that potentially could be happening in the neighborhoods or with the businesses
or on the streets. And you know, I was during the 19 years that I was a school administrator, almost every school that I worked in had a school resource officer that was assigned either by the police department or the sheriff's department, depending on where the school was located. And SROs are fantastic.
Yeah.
And what they really want to spend most of their time on is the same thing that teachers spend most of their time on, is building relationships with kids.
Yeah.
But because they have to deal so often not only with criminal behavior on campus, but they get pulled off campus a lot to respond to calls in the community where the department needs them.
They're shorthanded.
They're shorthanded. They get pulled off campus. I knew a school resource officer at one of the schools where I was a principal who was also a training officer.
Oh. Okay.
And so he was wearing two hats, and there were a lot of times he got pulled off a campus either to respond to calls in the community or to deal with training issues. Yeah, we ask a lot.
We do
of people in law enforcement, and you know, that's why not only our deputies and officers on the street, but our correctional officers in our jails and prisons. That's why you've got a shortage of applicants for those positions. They're tough jobs to do.
They're tough jobs, and most of the time they're thankless jobs.
Yeah, unquestionably.
Yeah. So we're grateful for them. We are.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
That was a great hour that went by.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to come back anytime.
Okay, I'd love to have you back.
Hopefully, scheduling will not be as much of a challenge next time we get together.
And next time I'll have Janae on. She had to fill in and do some work duties. So, you know, things come up, like you said.
Yeah,
life goes on.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. Well, thank you, Ron. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. You've watched another episode of Southwest Flavor. Join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. We'll see you next week.